Let me take you into this the right way. Imagine for a second that you're standing at the start of your journey, fired up, filled with energy, ready to conquer the world. You've got that fire burning inside you. You can feel it in your chest. That's motivation. And for a moment, it feels unstoppable. But here's the catch. What happens when you wake up tomorrow and that fire isn't burning as strong? What happens when you feel tired? When the excitement is gone? When life gets heavy and the energy that fueled you yesterday just isn't there today? That's the problem with motivation. It's like a spark. It ignites quickly, but it fades just as fast. And if you rely on it to carry you through, you're setting yourself up for disappointment, because motivation is temporary, but consistency is permanent. Consistency is what doesn't care about how you feel in the moment. It doesn't care if you're excited, if you're tired, if you're discouraged, or if the world feels like it's stacked against you. Consistency is a decision. It's the choice to show up no matter what. It's brushing your teeth every single day, not because you're motivated, but because you've decided it's part of who you are. That's the power of consistency. It doesn't wait for the mood to be right. It doesn't ask for your permission. It simply becomes part of you. And when you master that, you don't need to chase after bursts of motivation anymore. Think about it. Every time you've started something in life, whether it was working out, building a business, studying for school, or trying to improve yourself, there's always that initial rush, right? You feel unstoppable in the beginning, but how many times have you seen that rush fade away after a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month? That's because you built it on motivation, not on consistency. You built it on emotion, not on discipline. And when emotion disappears, the foundation crumbles. But when you commit to consistency, you create a foundation that doesn't crack under pressure. Let me tell you, the people who succeed at the highest level aren't always the most motivated people. They're the ones who learned how to keep going when motivation vanished. They're the ones who said, I don't care if I feel like it or not. I'm doing it. That's the real difference. Consistency beats motivation because it doesn't play games with you. It doesn't care if you're excited, if you're afraid, if you're drained. It's about making the choice to take the next step anyway. And here's the truth you need to hear. Motivation can be the spark, but it will never be the engine. The engine is built by showing up every day, by doing the work when it's boring, when it's hard, when nobody's watching, and when nothing in you feels like moving forward. That's where greatness is created. Not in the moments of hype and energy, but in the quiet moments of discipline, where you keep pushing even, when there's no applause, no excitement, and no rush of adrenaline. I want you to think about a brick wall. Every day, you lay down one brick. Not 100 bricks, just one. And you do it consistently. At first, it looks like nothing. A week goes by, still nothing impressive. A month, maybe a small corner of a wall is starting to take shape. But keep showing up. Keep laying those bricks every single day, and eventually, you've built a wall so strong, so solid, that nothing can knock it down. That wall is your future. That wall is your success. That wall is your life. But you'll never build it if you only work when you're motivated. You'll only build it if you stay consistent. And I know what you're thinking, but it's hard to be consistent. You're right. It is hard. But here's the secret. Consistency actually gets easier the longer you practice it. In the beginning, it feels heavy. It feels uncomfortable. Your mind resists. Your body resists. Your old habits fight back. But the more you show up, the more you push through, the more your brain learns. This is just what we do. And then it becomes automatic. Consistency rewires your identity. It stops being something you try to do, and it becomes who you are. That's why you can't wait around for motivation to strike, because if you do, you'll spend most of your life waiting. Motivation is unreliable. It's unstable. It's inconsistent. But consistency, that's steady. That's reliable. That's the thing that builds momentum. And momentum's where real transformation happens. So, the next time you feel that surge of motivation, enjoy it, but don't depend on it. Use it to take the first step, then let consistency carry you the rest of the way. Because when the fire fades, and it always does, the question is not, do I feel like it? The question is, will I do it anyway? And if the answer is yes, if you decide that no matter what, you'll keep showing up, you'll keep laying those bricks, you'll keep putting in the work, even when the excitement is gone, that's when you discover the truth. That's when you realize why consistency beats motivation every single time. Picture this. You stand in front of a mountain. It looks massive, overwhelming, impossible to climb. And in that moment, your mind starts racing. How could I ever reach the top? That's exactly how most people look at their goals. They stare at the mountain, they see the size of the dream, and they freeze. They think success is about one giant leap, one moment of inspiration, one breakthrough that changes everything. But let me tell you something that will flip your perspective. Success doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from small daily actions, repeated over and over again. Those little steps are what take you to the top of that mountain. The mistake so many people make is waiting for a big moment, that magical burst of energy, that life-changing opportunity. They think it's about doing something massive once in a while, but that's not how life works. The truth is, greatness is built quietly, in the shadows, in the everyday habits that don't look like much in the moment. It's that decision to wake up early one more time, to write one more page, to make one more call, to go to the gym when you'd rather sleep. It's ordinary actions done consistently that create extraordinary results over time. Think about it like this. A single drop of water doesn't carve out a canyon. But drops of water, falling over years, over decades, they shape rock itself. That's what your small actions do. They may look insignificant today, but repeated daily, they build something unstoppable. That's the power of consistency. With small steps, you can't always control the big opportunities, but you can control the little things you do every single day. And those little things, they're the seeds of your future. Let me ask you something. How many times have you started a goal and then stopped because you didn't see results fast enough? You go to the gym for a week, no change. You study for a month, no breakthrough. You work on your dream, and it feels like nothing is happening. That's where most people quit. Not because they don't have what it takes, but because they expect results too quickly. They underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. But the ones who stick with it, the ones who stay patient, they're the ones who eventually see massive results. Because consistency compounds, and compounding is the secret that most people ignore. Think about money. If you save a small amount every day, it doesn't look like much. But over time, with compound growth, it turns into something powerful. The same applies to your habits, your effort, your discipline. Small actions, compounded over years, transform your life. They turn you into someone completely different from who you were when you started. That's why consistency beats bursts of motivation. Motivation gives you a sprint. Consistency gives you a marathon. And life isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. But here's the key. You have to trust the process, even when it feels invisible. Because progress in the beginning is always invisible. You can't see it, you can't feel it, but it's happening underneath the surface. It's like planting a seed. You water it every day, and for weeks, there's nothing. Then one day, you see a sprout, and eventually, it grows into something bigger than you imagined. The small daily actions are the watering of your future. The problem is most people stop watering because they don't see anything growing. But the ones who keep watering, who keep showing up, they're the ones who reap the harvest. I'll give you the real truth. Anyone can get excited once. Anyone can have a burst of energy for a few days. But not everyone has the strength to stay committed when results are invisible. That's where character is built. That's where the separation happens between those who dream and those who achieve. The dreamers want it fast. The achievers do it daily. And if you're willing to do it daily, no matter how small, you'll become unstoppable. Here's what you need to remember. You don't climb a mountain by leaping to the top. You climb it by taking one step, then another, until you realize you're no longer at the bottom. You're halfway up, then you're near the peak, and eventually, you're standing at the top looking back, wondering how you ever thought it was impossible. That's what small, daily actions do. They create momentum, and momentum is the most powerful force in your life. Once you build it, nothing can stop you. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for the fire of motivation. Stop waiting for the stars to align. Start small. Take the step in front of you. Do it today, then do it tomorrow, then do it the day after that. Because small actions are never small when they're done consistently. They build you. They shape you. They create the person capable of handling the dream you once thought was impossible. And that's why small daily actions create massive long-term results. Because when you master the small things, the big things take care of themselves. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. How many times have you quit on yourself the moment it got uncomfortable? How many times have you let your feelings decide whether or not you showed up? Be honest. Because the truth is, most people live their lives ruled by emotions. If they feel good, they move forward. If they don't, they stop. And that cycle is exactly why most people never break free from average. But here's the shift when you choose consistency over comfort. When you decide to keep going even when you don't feel like it, you build something that's far more valuable than success itself. You build unshakable discipline and character. Consistency isn't about doing something when it's easy. It's about doing it when it's hard. It's easy to work out when you're motivated. It's easy to study when you're excited about your future. It's easy to work on your dream when everything feels fresh. But what about the days when you're exhausted? What about when your mind says, just take it easy today? What about when the results you expected still aren't showing up? That's when consistency reveals who you really are. Because every time you push through that resistance, every time you override that voice telling you to stop, you're strengthening your character like a muscle. Think about the strongest people you admire. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They didn't get there by doing what was convenient. They got there by doing what was necessary. They showed up when it was raining, when it was painful, when no one was watching, and when quitting would have been easier. That's what discipline is. It's the ability to stand tall when everything around you is pulling you to sit down. It's the power to say, I don't care how I feel. This is who I am, and this is what I do. And here's the beauty of it. You're not just building habits when you stay consistent. You're building an identity. Every time you follow through on your commitment, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you believe yourself to be. You go to the gym when you don't feel like it. That's a vote for being disciplined. You write the page when no one's waiting to read it. That's a vote for being dedicated. You get up early when you'd rather stay in bed. That's a vote for being unstoppable. Over time, those votes add up, and suddenly, you don't just do consistent things. You become a consistent person. That identity is unshakable because it's forged in the fire of discipline. Now, let me be real with you. Discipline isn't glamorous. Nobody's handing out medals when you wake up early to do the work. Nobody's cheering for you when you resist distractions to stay focused. Nobody's applauding you when you show up quietly, day after day, to build your dream brick by brick. But that's the point. Discipline doesn't need applause. It doesn't need recognition. It's a private contract between you and your future. And if you honor that contract, the rewards eventually show up in ways far louder than any applause could ever give you. Here's what most people get wrong. They think discipline takes away freedom. They think consistency means being trapped in routines, stuck, boring, robotic. But in reality, discipline is what gives you freedom. Because when you're disciplined, you're not controlled by moods, impulses, or laziness. You take control of your life instead of letting your life control you. The undisciplined person is a slave to their emotions. The disciplined person is free because they live by choice, not by chance. And that's where character comes in. Character is not built when life is smooth. It's built when life tests you. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you're chiseling away at the weak parts of yourself and shaping the strongest version of you. You're teaching yourself that you can be trusted. And when you can trust yourself, when you know deep down that you'll show up no matter what, your confidence skyrockets, because confidence doesn't come from hyping yourself up. It comes from evidence. The evidence that you've proven, day after day, that you're disciplined enough to keep your word. I want you to remember something powerful. Success is temporary, but character is forever. The money, the recognition, the achievements, they can come and go. But the discipline you build, the character you forge through consistency, that never leaves you. It becomes part of your DNA. And that's why some people can lose everything and rebuild it again. They didn't just build wealth. They built character. They didn't just chase motivation, they built discipline. That's what makes them unstoppable. So, the next time you feel like skipping, the next time your emotions try to convince you to take it easy, I want you to see it as a test of your discipline, a test of your character. Because on the other side of that decision is the person you're becoming. Will you be the person who gave in or the person who stood strong? That choice, repeated consistently, will shape the rest of your life. And that's why consistency builds unshakable discipline and character. Because every time you push through, you're not just moving forward. You're becoming someone who cannot be moved. Let me hit you with a truth that might surprise you. Success doesn't belong to the smartest person in the room, or the most talented, or even the one who shouts the loudest about their dreams. Success belongs to the person who refuses to stop, the person who shows up day after day, long after the initial excitement is gone. And here's the secret you need to know. Consistency is the one thing that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. Think about the people we admire most in any field. They're not superheroes. They didn't wake up with some magic gift that the rest of us don't have. What they did have was the willingness to keep going when others quit. They trained when nobody believed in them. They practiced when no one was watching. They kept showing up when the crowd was silent. It wasn't talent that made them great. It was consistency. And that's what makes them extraordinary. We live in a world obsessed with instant results. Everyone wants to go viral overnight, make millions in a month, get in shape in a week, or master a skill in a weekend. But that's not reality. Reality is slow, steady, often boring progress. Reality is putting in the work when it feels like nothing is happening. Reality is stacking day after day of effort until one day you look up and realize you've become someone completely different. That's how ordinary people rise above, by refusing to let go of consistency. And let me tell you something. Consistency doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care if you come from nothing. if you've failed 100 times, if nobody believes in you, consistency will still reward you if you stay with it. That's why it's the great equalizer. You might not have the money, the connections, or the natural ability, but if you've got consistency, you've got a weapon stronger than all of that, because talent without consistency is wasted potential. But consistency without talent, that will beat talent every single time. Think about it like this. Imagine two runners. One is gifted, naturally fast, explosive, strong. The other is average, nothing special. At first, the talented runner is way ahead, but he only trains when he feels motivated. He skips days. He takes it easy when it gets tough. The average runner, he trains every day. He sticks to the schedule. He pushes even when he doesn't want to. At first, he's behind, but slowly, day after day, he catches up. And eventually, he passes the talented one, not because he was born better, but because he stayed consistent. That's life. That's how the ordinary become extraordinary. Here's the truth. Motivation is about feelings. Consistency is about decisions. Feelings are fragile, but decisions can be firm. The decision to show up every day builds strength. It builds resilience. It builds the kind of momentum that nothing can stop. And momentum is everything. Once you have it, it carries you forward, and suddenly, you don't need to fight for progress. It starts working for you. That's when people call you extraordinary, but you'll know the truth. You'll know it wasn't some special gift. It was the consistency to keep moving forward when no one else would. The beauty of consistency is that it doesn't just build results, it builds belief. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you start to believe in your own strength. And when you believe in yourself, you move differently. You talk differently. You live differently. Confidence doesn't come from wishing. It comes from evidence. And consistency gives you that evidence every single day. That's why extraordinary achievers walk with a certain presence. They've built that belief through the grind of consistency. And I'll tell you what else. Consistency doesn't just change what you achieve. It changes who you are. It transforms your identity. When you've shown up long enough, you no longer identify as someone who tries. You become someone who is. You're not trying to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You're not trying to be committed. You are committed. You're not trying to be extraordinary. You are extraordinary because consistency has reshaped you into that person. The reason so many people stay stuck is because they're waiting for the right moment. They're waiting for motivation, waiting for confidence, waiting for circumstances to change. But extraordinary achievers don't wait. They act, and they keep acting. And through that action, everything else falls into place. That's the dividing line. It's not about who had the best starting point. It's about who kept moving forward. So let me leave you with this. You don't have to be special to start. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need the perfect plan, the perfect resources, or the perfect timing. What you need is the courage to be consistent. Because when you show up day after day, when you keep taking those steps, when you keep laying those bricks, something extraordinary happens. You become the kind of person who doesn't just dream. You achieve. And that's why consistency turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers.